All right, y'all. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kendra. I am a travel social worker and a mental health provider. This will be another travel social work update, so buckle up and get ready. I do want to advise that this video is going to be a little bit lengthy because I want to give you a lot of important travel social work information and some tea, child, about this travel social work thing and just some of my experiences that I've had since traveling. So I recommend that you listen to this video while you are cooking or while you're driving or while you just got a lot of time on your hands, because it is going to be a little bit long. So I want to start with my life update since traveling. In my last video, I was very transparent about my circumstances before I started traveling. Like I said, I was not making a lot of money at the job that I was at, and I just was not about to have a master's degree and still be living paycheck to paycheck. Nothing wrong with that, but it was also just a lot of issues with the employer. I just felt like I was worth more than what I was dealing with. But anyway, life update since traveling. I have been able to save a substantial amount of money. And I have also been able to pay a lot of things off. And your girl bought a Benz, honey. And I don't say that to sell travel social work to you. I just want to give you guys an update on the changes that I've been able to make since then, and the improvements. That's the better word. The improvements that I've been able to make since traveling and choosing to engage in this type of work. So yeah, that's that's why I want to give you that update. It can be great financially when you start traveling. Yeah, and I'm also just kind of like in the process of saving so I can purchase a home. That's another thing that I want to be able to do. And I think travel social work is paving the way for me to be able to do that. And then maybe once I do that, I may stop traveling and find a staff position. Who knows? But yeah, I got a lot of different things in the works. Like I'm writing a book, not trying to write a book. I'm writing a book. I am like dibbling and dabbling with private practice, trying to figure out what that's going to look like for me. Well, I'm going to say expanding private practice. So I'm dibbling and dabbling with that, and just a host of other things that I'm trying to do right now, and which has also been the reason why it took me so damn long to record this video. But anyway, that's my life update. All right, now we're going to get into pick up straight where we left off with my last assignment. I ended up being at this assignment. I was at Stanford in California for almost a year. And you may ask, why would you stay at an assignment so long if it's supposed to be travel social work? Well, the answer to that is I didn't feel like adjusting nowhere else, truth be told. That job assignment was very comfortable for me, honestly. I did not really have any issues with the facility. I personally felt like I had great management. There was a lot of pros, like I did not drive myself to work 95% of the time, because they had transportation to take us to and from work. The food was good. Hell, I used to get points to where I could get discounts on gas and free car washes, all because I did not drive to work. So the job in itself had a lot of perks that made me comfortable, which is why I ended up being there so long, honestly. And then just moment of transparency, adjustment is just something that I struggle with. Even though I do this work, I have coping skills and things like that help me. So I just did not feel, I didn't have to adjust, so I didn't. I just stayed there. It doesn't mean that I don't do things that are uncomfortable for me. It's just, hell, I didn't have to. Like, so why would I? Um, so yeah, that's to answer that question. That's why I ended up staying so long. But I want to give you guys the pros and the cons of doing that. And we're going to start with the pros, of course. The pros were it was a well respected institution. And I would say, if you are going to stay at a particular place for an extended period of time, that could very much be a pro. I was getting all types of like knowledge and information as a clinician while working at this particular place. Um, I was able to participate in research, y'all. That was a big deal for me. Being able to participate like in small, and travelers don't do that, like that's so uncommon for us. And the how I ended up participating in it was so random. I was talking to a physician, and I said something that kind of just sparked a thought on a project that he was working on. She was working on it, so I just ended up working with her on just a small little research project. That's something that I can add to my resume, for future assignments. I did form good relationships with providers and management. That's a pro for me. So in the event that I want to go back and they are hiring and they have some positions opened, I feel like that makes me a good candidate to get picked because they already know me and they know my work ethic. And I feel like it gives me a good chance of being put in the door at a place that, I would potentially want to work at. And yeah, even if I wanted to come back as a contractor, I feel like that just having a relationship with management would help me, be able to do that. A contractor or a permanent employee, having a relationship with them, period, just, in my opinion, increases my chances of landing the gig. So there's that. I would say the cons are forming relationships. If you're there for a while, you're going to start, kind of making friends and getting close to people, which makes it hard to detach when it's time to go. It wasn't that hard for me, but I'm sorry, y'all know I ain't trying to be mean, but it makes it a little bit like sad, I guess, for you to leave, and I don't like that. Even when I had to part ways with my last employer, it was absolutely like killing me to have to leave some of my clients, because I just wouldn't have had room to do the job anymore. So forming relationships and having to end them could be a little bit tough. um, and the next thing is potentially being taxed. And I'm going to tell you how I avoided that. Okay, so with being at this assignment for the amount of time that I was in, if I would have not taken time off in between extending my contracts, I could have been taxed. So what I did each time was make sure that I was just taking time off. The rule of thumb is if you are at a place for 365 days, you are considered a resident. So within that year, I started in February. Within that year, I, of course, had some scheduled time off that was placed in my contract. And then when I kept extending, I was making sure to take some time off to just ensure that I'm not approaching that 365 mark. And then what I ended up doing was taking off. After my last contract, they asked me to stay again. I think that would have been my fourth extension. So when they asked me to stay again, I was like, if I continue at this rate, I'm going to end up still hitting that 365 mark, because this also doesn't include, it also includes like days that you work over and stuff too. So what I ended up doing was taking off a month. And that is unheard of in traveling. My recruiter said that. But I ended up taking off from December 17th to January 17th to ensure that I was putting a good enough gap in that time so that I did not get taxed by the state of California. And God knows I did not want to be taxed by the state of California at all. So I took a long period of time off, just to make sure that I'm staying under that number and I'm avoiding being taxed or considered a resident. I'll play with a lot of people, but the government is not somebody that I'm finna play with. um, so yeah, and while we're on the subject of taxes, it's important to make sure that you have a tax home when you're traveling. And I believe I mentioned this in my last video, but I did pack all of my stuff up from Nashville and I moved all of my things back home to Memphis. The way that I ensure that I have a tax home is, number one, putting something in my name in Memphis. I have my storage in my name, and I have my phone bill. All of my banking and information and stuff is in my name in Memphis. My driver's license and registration to my cars, I have never updated it to Nashville or updated it to anywhere else. So it has always been my parents' address. Yeah, so I've always had that information remain the same. And then also put a bill, if you can, in your name at the home that you're staying at, to ensure that you have a tax home. And that's just what I've done. You can also create a leasing agreement and this is only for people who are moving their stuff in with somebody else. You can also create a leasing agreement, to maybe use that as a proof that you have residence somewhere else. So yeah, all of my stuff never changed, and I've been out of my parents' house for over 10 years, but I never changed my driver's license or my tags. I would just go home and get my tags. I probably shouldn't say that on the internet, so moving on. The next thing that we're going to get into is going to be health insurance. Now, when I first started traveling, I went to see my doctors for my annuals right before I left, because I knew I was not going to pay for insurance, because I wanted all my money, all the money that I could take in. But if you are a person who has health concerns or a lot of health issues, of course, I don't recommend doing that, but I don't have any. Which is why I was okay with not having insurance, because I rarely have to see a doctor except for my annual visits. So the first 2 contracts that I had, I did not sign up for insurance. I waived that option and had all of my money come to me. However, I have reestablished benefits now, and there's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can go through the company that you are working for. Right now, I am under AMN, under Med Travelers, and they do offer a insurance plan, and that is what I'm utilizing thus far. For me, being a single person, checking all of those boxes, no smoking, all of that type of stuff, my insurance premium, I believe, is $78 per pay period. So that's not that bad for me. And I mean, even though I do not have a lot of health issues, I do feel like it's just a little bit risky to go without. But that was just a risk that I was willing to take at the time. So now I have health insurance, and you always just want to have it, because you never know what can happen. Like, you're literally working in a hospital, and I was real bold, honey, to sit up here and not have insurance and work during COVID. But shit, I had things, I had things going on, and I had things that I was trying to do. But with working in the hospital, I would say, like, you want to have some benefits, because you never know what can happen to you while you're working in these places with all these infections and sick people, or something can happen to you outside of the hospital where you break something and you got to be seen, and you don't want to be without health insurance. So you can either go through the company and utilize their health insurance. Some companies like Aya, AYA, or Aya, however they pronounce it, they have a free plan. So if you're a single person, not many health issues, you can do their little documentation and just have insurance immediately, without it costing you anything. And I think there's a couple of other companies that offer situations or plans like that as well. But if you don't want to go through the company, you can pay for insurance privately or try to establish insurance through Marketplace. Now let me tell y'all about my experience with Marketplace. um so I lost employment, actually, when I lost employment twice. When I was living in Nashville, I don't know if y'all remember or even know about it, depending on where you're from. Um, we had a tornado come through, and the tornado actually tore my job up. So they ended up like paying us like a big stipend, but we lost benefits. And I was like, damn, I'm coming up on a time where I have to go to the doctor and everything. So I ended up signing up for Marketplace Insurance, and the insurance that I could afford, honey, nobody had never heard of that insurance or that plan. And yeah, it was awful. Like I got the insurance and couldn't even go nowhere with it. Like that's crazy. Um but some people have success with Marketplace and they are able to get good insurance. They would not give me TennCare or any of the public insurance. I don't know why they were saying that I didn't qualify. I'm like, that's crazy because I do not have a job, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna argue with y'all. Um, so that's just my little experience with Marketplace, but I do know some other people who have had great things to say about Marketplace insurance. I have also formed relationships with some travel nurses who are able to utilize public insurance in between assignments. So if they're unemployed and they have children, for example, if they're unemployed for a time frame and they have children, they've been able to just like hop on TennCare or something like that. Now, I'm gonna be very honest with y'all. I don't really get into the gist of people's business that much, so I don't know what they saying to these people to get certain benefits. I'm just telling you what people be telling me. um so there's that. And then also, of course, if you have a insurance network that you just prefer to work with, you can always sign up directly through them. So if you like Cigna or something like that, you can just sign up and then make monthly or weekly payments through your insurance provider of your choice. So yeah, that's that. And the next thing we're going to get into is your documentation. So if you are a LMSW or a LCSW, keep your documents up to date. And if you are licensed in more than one state, make sure you're keeping all of your stuff up to date, because I missed out on a good opportunity because I was not prepared. So not only your licensure, but your BLS, your basic life support card, your CPR certification, keep that up to date, because if you got a good paying contractor and they ready to hire ASAP, they don't care that you are going to get your certification in 2 days, or you forgot to do it and you need a week. There's another social worker that's right there ready to hand his or her paperwork over to get the assignment. I am licensed in Tennessee and in Texas, and an opportunity came up. My BLS is what stopped me, y'all. I was pissed. I was so pissed. So moving forward, make sure you always have those documents updated. And not only that, but your flu shot and your COVID vaccine. Make sure you have all of that stuff updated. And my recommendation is, if you know you're coming up on the time for it to be updated, update it while you're on assignment, because more than likely it's free at the hospital. Prime example being when I had to update my BLS. I went ahead and just updated it with the hospital that I was at. It ended up being free, of course. So I updated that, and then also when it was time for me to take the flu vaccine and the COVID vaccine, the booster, I went ahead and got that updated as well. It was free. at the hospital that I was actually working at. So make sure you're checking those documents and writing them in your planner so you can just know to stay on your P's and Q's when it comes to getting those documents and those vaccines and stuff updated. Because you do not want to miss out on a good opportunity because of your paperwork. One thing about traveling is you do have to be ready to go when it's time to go. And they're not going to wait because there's other people, you know, ready to go out there and jump on the assignment and they're ready. So just a rule of thumb. And the other thing that I want to get into, hopefully other travelers will see this, is making it a habit to leave a review when you go certain places. Because when you're going certain places, you don't know nobody. If you're like me, you probably don't know anybody. And so you're just like, is this a good area to stay? Should I do this? Should I do that? Like, there's so much, you know, tied up in your head about like if the place is going to be safe, what is the neighborhood like, all of that. So one rule of thumb that I have practiced is leaving a review when I go places, like when I use companies or, you know, if I use a company, if I use a certain Airbnb, anything, I always try to, shipping companies, I always try to leave a review so the next traveler, whether it's a nurse, doctor, or social worker, could be in the know. I think that's a good way for us to help each other out, because moving around can be super stressful, and if we can just ease that stress for one another, I think that could be great. So leave a review when you go places on the whole. And then I always kind of like to specify that I was a traveler, just so people can know, like, okay, she was here long term, so she kind of got a real idea of what this place was like, so I'm gonna trust this review. And then hell, sometimes they be wrong, but I do appreciate reviews from other people. So there's that. And then the next thing that we're going to get into is transportation. So in the last video, I told y'all that I had shipped my car to my location. And my experience was not terrible until it was time to ship my car home. So let me tell you what happened with that. Again, like I told y'all, get you a burner number when it's time for you to ship your vehicle, because once you submit a referral or submit just, you know, a quote saying that you want to get your car shipped, you're going to have all of these companies start calling, you know, trying to get the opportunity to ship your car. So you want to just make sure that you can turn that off, because they're going to be calling for days and days and days. But what you don't want to happen is for somebody to low bid your car. Y'all, I almost ended up driving my ass from California to Tennessee because this shipping company had pissed me off so bad. So the coordinator called me and he was like, oh, we can ship your car for $850. I have the document right here, and I already got a driver. Lying straight through his teeth, y'all. Lying straight through his teeth. So I'm like, $850 ain't bad for California to Tennessee. And typically I would not go for anything like that if he had not already sent me the driver's information, went on ahead and scheduled it, and sent me a contract. I would not go for anything like that normally, but when he did all of that, I was like, okay, I guess this makes sense. But trial and error, you know, this is my first time dealing with something like that, so don't be too hard on me. But basically, it was literally like 2 days before it was time to ship my car, I believe. And then it was a holiday. I can't remember if it was President's Day or what. It was some type of holiday right there. And he was like, he said that he texted me, because I was like, the man ain't told me, you know, where he wants me to meet him, because I know he can't fit his truck in my neighborhood. So I was like, I'm gonna meet him and then I'm gonna Uber back home. So I was like, he hasn't called me and told me anything about where he want to meet or nothing like that. So come to find out, y'all, all of it was a lie. He did not have a driver. He bid it the contract way too low just to get me in there, and then try to jack up the price the day of, y'all. So I went from $800 to this man trying to charge me $1,400 to ship my car. Mind you, my flight left like that Tuesday, so I was expecting to drop my car off between like that Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I told him at any time I can take it to him, you know, to be shipped. And so he was just like, well, I got a driver available, and he's saying 16. And I was like, you have me the, and I was like, I will drive my car home before I pay that amount of money to get my damn car shipped, when you already told me and promised me a certain amount. And so I was basically going back and forth with him and saying that, you know, your company needs to pay the difference from what you told me and what you had me sign for. All in all, I argued his ass up and down, and I literally threatened to go ahead and drive my car back to Tennessee, which I was not gonna do, but I threatened to drive my car back to Tennessee. We argued and argued and argued, and I only ended up paying like $200 more, so it was in the thousands, but I definitely wasn't finna pay no 16, 17, or none of those other prices that he was trying to quote me. And what I did was to be sure to leave a review, because I don't want another traveler to have that same experience. People need to know that he'll low bid just to try to make you pay a fucking terrible or a significantly higher price than what he offered you. My car that I was shipping from California is a lot older, so I know that they were charging due to the fact that it was last minute, but the last minuteness was not my fault. It was this man's fault that was putting my contract out there for my car to be shipped. And I was sure to leave a review and say that this man lied to me and that he tried to make everything seem like it was my fault, because I want other travelers to know about my experience with that. So yeah, I think that wraps up everything that I needed to go over travel wise. Now it's time to get into this tea. So what's tea, child? Two things. Remember when I was telling y'all, do not discuss your pay? Don't discuss your pay. And don't be careful. I'm gonna say this. Be careful how you try to help other people, because you truly don't know people when you getting into just contracts and just being in places. And the second thing is, I got stalked. But we're gonna start with the first thing, which is the pay. Okay, so the reason why I am gonna dive into this a little bit more, because I almost got burned by somebody that I was trying to be of assistance to. So this person basically informed me that their pay was significantly low, and they were not being paid what they felt like they were worth for the state that they were in, but they were just kind of like, you know, the opportunity, yada yada yada, which is fine. You know, I believe in taking risks. I did the same thing when I got here, but the difference between me and this person is I did not get mad when somebody else disclosed their pay to me. Instead, I asked, how do I do that? You know, instead of sabotaging everything from not only myself, but that other person too. And I can appreciate somebody who is willing to educate me and put me on, versus getting upset and getting in my feelings about something that has nothing to do with me. There are so many factors to consider when somebody else is being paid more than you. The person who put me on to negotiating and and talking to me about how to increase my pay. Number one, had way more experience in the game than I did. So her pay is justified. She has more experience. She's more knowledgeable. Hell, I had to ask her for help at times. So it makes sense that she was being paid more. And I knew where I was and where I had came from, so I wasn't, getting upset or mad about their pay. But anyway, me trying to give back and reach back, it ended up getting a little weird. So basically, she expressed her struggles, and I'm just like, okay, I do feel like you could be getting paid significantly lower compared to what a lot of people are making. I never really said exactly what I made, but I kept saying like, that is too low, that is too low. But this person ended up finding out through somebody else, which was another traveler who had not been there for a while. And the person kind of grew upset and got with her recruiter and was going off about the pay and all of that. And of course the recruiter started asking questions like, who you been talking to, all of that. So I'm just like, well, hell, even though it wasn't me who disclosed what people were making at this assignment, that previous person told them, what other social workers were making. So, it's kind of like she just started spraying everybody as a result of, this happening. And when I was trying to provide guidance and education, I was just kind of like, justify that you're afloat, and that you work all over the hospital. Try to justify your increase by saying you're in the state of California. The cost of living here is atrocious, so you need, more pay. Justify it by using your rent to show that my per diem is not even covering my rent. That's how I was trying to assist without disclosing exactly what I was making. But she ended up getting the information from somebody else. Another rule of thumb to know is that all of these recruiters know each other, okay? So when you are complaining or getting upset, they can pinpoint who else is at the assignment for one, and who that person's recruiter is. Now, granted, I don't believe they have like access to like looking into a person's files and whatnot, but all of them know each other and they know who they got where. So, when this person's recruiter started asking like, well, who's there now, and all of that, it got back. And granted, I never said anything, but that could have, recruiters can't punish you for discussing your pay, but what I did not want to happen is for somebody to F me up in the future, you know what I mean? Or make me look untrustworthy. Because I'm gonna put people on regardless. Me discussing my pay is that's a personal thing. It has nothing to do with me being afraid of anybody or afraid of retaliation, because we can talk about it. It's just not recommended, and I see why. And it's because of situations like this. People can get real ugly when it comes to money. People can get real ugly and want to sabotage you when it comes to money. I would never run my mouth about anything like that, honestly. And I didn't run my mouth when somebody else put me on. You know what I mean? I took the information and did something with it versus going back and stirring up a bunch of BS and getting a lot of people in trouble, or getting a lot of people, kind of side-eyed or looked at. So, I'm gonna be very honest with y'all. I'm not disclosing like every little detail about the situation because it's weird. And I really don't like talking about nobody, but just be mindful of people, because you don't know these people and you think you helping somebody when they don't even have that same respect for you, to protect you like you trying to protect and help them. So just be mindful of things like that, because you don't want me and my recruiter have a great relationship. I don't think he'll ever like side eye me, you know, for certain things. He actually helped my roommate. I ended up getting a roommate while I was there. We ended up discussing something like, you know, we had the same assignment. Why can't we get the same pay? And that's what ended up happening, I think, for both of us. I just know my recruiter just ended up knowing her recruiter, and then they were talking about like increasing our pay. So, at least that's what he told me. I don't know how true it is, but you know, that was something that we discussed. So don't just be real mindful and maybe get to know people a little bit more before you try to assist them. Most would say like, okay, well, that's common knowledge and whatnot, but I literally did not expect a person to get upset, which got weird. But people do get weird about money. So, you know, this is why they say don't discuss your pay, because that person could very much sabotage you and try to throw you under the bus. So that's that situation. The next piece of piping hot tea is I got stalked, which is another reason why I ended up with a roommate, or the second reason as to why I ended up with a roommate. So I was residing at a extended stay hotel, like I told y'all in my last video. Nice place. It was I ain't gonna say it was nice. But it wasn't a bad place because it was a lot of healthcare providers there. And of course, you get truckers every now and then, but we didn't even get that many people driving trucks. Actually, every time I did see a truck, it was a car shipper. So they were picking up somebody's car so they can ship it. Honestly, I think I was at that extended stay maybe I was there the entire stint of my first and second assignment, maybe. So maybe 6 months total. And I think I only saw two truck drivers out of that whole time there. But it was mostly like people who worked for Google. It was a lot of other little companies around the place that we worked at. So it was a business district. It wasn't like I was just in a straight area. But anyway, this man, I had my dog with me while I was on assignment, and I would walk him around the complex, like literally all in front of Google, that whole campus. Like we would just go for walks in that area, and I felt fairly safe because there were always people outside, except for this one, no, mommy, except for this one, little area where we would be by ourselves, but there was cameras everywhere because it was a campus. So I wasn't too concerned. And then, sorry, my mommy called me. But I was saying, plus I'm always armed. I do not go anywhere where I don't have any mode of protecting myself. So I carry, and I have mace, and I have a whole little like pocket knife set. And I recommend that if you are woman, man, anybody, if you are traveling and going to be doing travel assignments, please have a mode of protection, because you never know where you're going to be and what is around you. So I was walking my dog. This man had approached me 3 times. The first time I was walking back into the complex, and he drove in there, and he was just catcalling, like normal stuff that women experience. And I respectfully declined, and I also was sure to walk not to my room. I walked around the complex and just acted like I was going to a different door so he would know exactly where my door was. So that happened. The second time, it was sort of the same situation, you know, hey, how you doing? I know he remembered me, because honestly, it wasn't that many black people around, especially black women walking dogs. So I know that he knew who I was and that I had declined him before. And then the second time that happened, the gentleman at the hotel, the manager, was like, you know, that's not okay. I don't know if he didn't know about the first time. I don't think he did. But he was like, that's not okay. He rolled the camera back and was trying to record his tag, but he couldn't get to it, unfortunately. But he did have the make and model of the car, and he kind of had a description of what the man looked like. So the third time, we were going away from the place. And I kid y'all not, the damn hotel manager was leaving work and he saw him and he was like, man, go on about your business. Like, leave her alone. Baby, a stand-up gentleman. That man, he was very protective of hotel staff. He and I ended up also having a conversation. And he told me, just my long length of stay, people are mostly nurses, who are traveling to work here. And so he made it a point to, like, the nurses that worked at night, he always tried to station them somewhere that was close to the front office to make them feel safer instead of having to get out of their car and walk a long distance to get to the door. He was trying to make it to where, like, they always had an opportunity to hop out and get to their car quickly. So I appreciated him for that. So when he saw this man again, he made a report and reported him and was like, he's harassing my staff. I saw him pull up on the lot, looking at catcalling and different things like that. So the police took the description. But again, they didn't have a tag number. So they took the description and they started patrolling, like, kind of being in the area. So the third time, y'all, I was walking. I was away from the campus, from the hotel a little bit, like down the street, finna get ready to go in the area that a lot of people are not in. So, of course, this man knows the area. So we're walking towards, and I see his car, so I'm like, shit. So everything in me was saying, go back, go back. So I slowed down when I saw him enter the parking lot where my dog and I usually turn. So I slowed down. I was like, okay, don't take your eyes off of him. See what he's doing. So I'm watching him and I'm slowing down because my dog is also peeing and, other things. So I'm slowing down and I noticed that he stopped and he parked and he got out of his car. And he opened the back door of his car. So at this point, I'm getting my dog leash and I'm like, we finna get the fuck out of here. So I grabbed my dog, and in the midst of me trying to gather my dog, he's approaching me. And so he was like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, fine. Now, mind you, I'm trying to leave the situation, but I'm also armed and I got leggings on. So honestly, my firearm is not secured properly. So I'm like, fine, and I was very stern. And he was just like, I think you're very beautiful and I want to get to know you and all of these things. So again, I'm backing up, going towards the hotel room. My dog starts going off. He's barking and barking and barking, and he hates this man. So I'm trying to reel him in with the goddamn leash. And so I was like, I have a boyfriend and I'm not interested. And he was like, oh, okay. And so I'm still looking at the back door of his car be open because I'm like, is somebody gonna jump out and help him, grab me or something? And so he was just like, he was like, I bet the next time I see you, you won't have a boyfriend. Excuse me? Like, what does that even mean? And so at this point, I was like, I'm walking away from you. And I was like, I honestly want you to leave me alone and stop talking to me. And so he was still kind of like coming towards me as I'm retreating back to the hotel. And I did not want to turn my back, of course, on him. Mind you, I'm armed. So if he would have reached for me, I very much would have did what I was supposed to do. However, there's a lot of things that I had to keep in mind. Number one, I'm not licensed in California. And California does have stricter firearm laws than Tennessee. So that was a factor. And then the other factor is, I'm very much not afraid to use my firearm, but it's the thought of having to do it. You know, like I don't want that on my conscience, but I'm gonna absolutely do what's necessary to protect my life. So all of that was just crazy. So I went back. I told him, I was like, please leave me alone. I'm not really fucking with you at all. And I was like, there's not anything that you can offer me to want to talk to you. This man has walked all the way away from his car with the back door wide open. So he didn't care like if anybody was to walk up and steal it or anything. So I was able to go back into the hotel and I went and told the manager. The manager immediately contacted the police and they took another description, and then they were gonna speak to the people at the building behind us to see if they could get footage. But the fucked up part about it is he was sure to make sure that his car was not visible to the camera. So again, they missed the tag number. So moving forward, what I was grateful for was the fact that the police continued to patrol the area. Prior to that incident, there was not heavy police presence over there. But afterwards, I definitely saw an increase in cars just being around the area, like looking for this man. So I will forever, forever, forever appreciate the gentleman at that hotel. He was very protective and invested in staff safety. So that really made me feel good and just feel safe at that place. And as a result, I ended up moving with the roommate, number one, because I wanted to save more money, and then two, the safety thing. And then I ended up sending my dog home for the remainder of my assignment because the constant having to worry about the neighborhood that I'm walking in as a Black woman, not really surrounded by a lot of people that look like me. That does not mean that I don't feel like people had my best interests in mind, but it just felt like it was so much anxiety, just behind doing that. Like I had just got used to that area that I was in, and me and my dog were comfortable. But then this person came and sort of sabotaged it. Not sort of did sabotage it, and then it was moving to another area, and it's just like, having to worry about the same thing again. I don't know the neighborhood, so even if I was to run from somebody, I don't even know like the ins and outs of the neighborhood to try to get the hell away. So that's that, and that's that tea. I am safe, definitely protected spiritually, and I definitely appreciate like the staff that was like hands on deck when it came to addressing that situation without hesitation at all. So yeah, like I don't think he ever got caught. I don't really, I don't ever, I don't feel like I gave off the impression that I was a working girl. But even if that's the case, like I made it very clear that I was not interested in you. So leave me alone. So I say all of that to say, if you're going to be traveling, or if you do decide to pick up, this line of work, make sure you are protecting yourself because people are weird, And yeah, I don't want to end this video on that note, though. I don't want to end the video on that note. All in all, just besides those two experiences, you can get stalked anywhere, to be honest. Just make sure you're protecting yourself. I had such a great time in California. I got to know some amazing and beautiful souls. Traveling has done a lot for my mental health. I'm able to number one, experience the United States. Like going to all of these different places, making these small discoveries has been truly amazing thus far. And then I'm also learning a lot about who I am. You really you gotta have some strength to do this because you are leaving everything that you know, and then jumping into a place that you potentially know nothing about, where you don't know any of the people, and you got to learn their work ways within a short period of time. And that takes an incredible amount of strength, but I really feel like it's good exercise for your mental. Even though I do struggle with adjustment, it's a demonstration that I can adjust, and I can always do it. You know what I mean? So traveling has its pros and its cons. But overall, it has changed my life for the better. Um, Not just money wise, but in experience wise. Like, what putting this on your resume that you were a traveler, I think that can demonstrate to any company that, okay, I know this person is capable of coming in and showing leadership and initiative and independence. You can do it. You know, I think that's, if you decide to go back to staff work, it's a demonstration that you are capable and you can do things. You're a quick learner. You're quick on your feet. You're resourceful, because that's another thing when you're going to an assignment in another state, you're not that familiar with the resources. So being good at just hopping on Google and finding things for clients, you know, that makes you amazing. You'll know so much about so many different things. So traveling can truly be life changing. It gets lonely. I'm not in a relationship while traveling. Am I open to it? Absolutely. Um, but it does like get a little bit like lonely sometimes. So it's important to, you know, FaceTime your family whenever you can, go home when you can, and celebrate as much as you can. Don't allow so much of your time to be bogged down by work. So yeah, that is my update, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you are new here and if you have not done so already, be sure to like and subscribe. I have a lot of more ideas coming. Yeah, we're just gonna start having more conversations on YouTube. So thank you for watching, and until next time, bye.